All right, welcome back, everyone. This is episode 2 of the Cable Guys. I'm here with Chris Holland, as always, and today joining us, we also have Dave Giarusso. It's Giarusso, right? I don't.
Yeah, Giarusso, it's fine. You're
Okay,
good.
I always feel like I messed that up. League president, like we said last time, straight to the moon. League Prez, episode 2. We're going places.
We're cooking.
So, Dave, thanks for coming on. I know we talked a little bit last time of, I'm not sure if you watched it, obviously probably not, because our YouTube video only had 16 views or whatever, but
18.
Oh, 18.
18.
I think I was one of them. So
did you watch it for 30 seconds at least? Because that's when it counts.
I watched it 18 times, actually.
Nice.
Sick.
I appreciate it. So I know we talked about last time, like I was saying, gave a little background on you as well as the other board members of what's going on the board, what we're trying to do with this whole virus thing going on right now. I know there's a managers meeting Tuesday, so we're going to get more information then. But with schools and everything being pushed back until, what is it, May
4th, everything's closed through. May 4th.
Yeah.
We're probably looking at this season's going to be pushed back at least a little bit. Hopefully that's it. But after that meeting on Tuesday, we'll have some more information for you, and we'll talk about that next time. But Dave, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
No worries, man. It's always a pleasure. And yeah, I mean, like we said last time, Chris, we were going to give those team previews. Now that we have Dave, we're going to switch it up a little bit. Instead of going us and the Cubs and staying in the South, we're going to do one team from each league, each division, starting with, I mean, the best team around, right?
We're the most fun.
The most fun. Yeah, you guys have walkout songs, so that's –
We do, and we got some flake for that before.
Flake?
Really? Whatever.
You mean flack? It was mostly from Dave, if I remember correctly.
No, Dave liked my walk-up song.
Huh?
Dave
No,
liked my
it.
walk-up song.
He made fun of me using Uptown Girl.
Well, everyone makes fun of you for using Uptown.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's
Rightfully
fine.
so.
But yeah, I mean, we do try and go out and have some fun. But I mean, we do have some new acquisitions that we got this year. We're going over some position changes that we're going to have too. I know a lot of these new guys that we got, Chris. You know more about them than I do. So
Ever so slightly, sure.
I mean, you've played with them in the past, though. So do you want to kind of go over who we got and?
Sure. I mean, the main pickups we got a new center fielder, Billy Watts, who's spent the last 4 or 5 years playing receiver for Bridgewater State's football team.
So we're adding to our team speed, which is good because we don't have any.
He's a center fielder.
Burner.
He covers a lot of ground. He is fast from what we understand. So hopefully he'll be a good pickup. We got Troy Ortiz, who most recently pitched at Johnson & Wales. He's originally from New Jersey. From what I understand, he's a pretty hard thrower, can play a couple of infield positions too. So we got some versatility with Troy.
And losing Giuseppe, this is a good pickup for us.
Sure.
Well, who's your everyday shortstop?
Not
Pat.
me.
We picked up this guy. We picked up Mike Szymanski, who actually played in 2015 on the Mariners team that won the championship. He's
He's a good fielder.
He's a good fielder. He's probably a less than average hitter looking at his stats back from 2015. He spent the last couple of years playing softball, but he's got a good glove and he's got a very strong arm. So he'll add some depth to the middle of the infield. Pat doesn't have to play shortstop every day anymore, which is great for us. He can move over to second base or outfield or wherever the heck we need him on any given day.
Nice.
Ultimate utility guy.
Yeah, something like that. I feel like I'm missing.
Dorito.
Oh, Andrew Dorito. This was supposed to be his senior season at Dean. He's a corner infielder. Has also played for the Plymouth Brewers in the Cranberry League, where he hit over 300 last summer and played, I think, mainly third base, but I think he's mostly a first baseman in college. From what I understand, good ball player. He's played with our catcher Cam Deegan a little bit, and that's how we found out about it. Well, we found out about it.
Guys.
What was that?
This is how we got most of these guys. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, most of our new guys came from Cam, aside from Mike Szymanski.
Yeah.
Well, dude, that's what I like so much about the cable, because it's a lot of word of mouth. Like, everyone wants to play with their buddies, and then
Exactly.
you make some new friends on some new teams. Then you can kind of, join another team or kind of stay with those buddies. Kind of similar to what we did with the Rough Riders, but we can get into that later.
Yeah, it's a great way to build depth, because I think going into this season, the guys that have been around since we started in 2017, we probably exhausted all of our contacts for who we actually know that play baseball. So we're going out and adding new guys who are then adding their friends, and we're hoping that it continues to make the team better.
And then the other guys, like, are on other teams. You know what I mean? So
right,
yeah.
That was really a good example of that is our second year. The guys that had been playing for the Cardinals that folded after their championship season that wanted to keep playing joined on with us, and we actually had a pretty good team that year. And unfortunately, we petered out in the playoffs like we always do. But
was that the year you played the A's in the first round? Me versus
No, that was our very first year in the league when you pitched against Earhart.
Yeah.
The second year we played the Royals in the first round. We won game 1 when we only had 9 guys there. We had like 3 pitchers in our starting lineup because everybody decided to go to Kenny Chesney that night.
Was that Tim or Christian's game?
Tim was outstanding. He had like 3 hits, a bunch of strikeouts, complete game shutout against the Royals.
That was the one in Dedham that I played in center field, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I played about 700 feet away and just tried to catch everything that was at a mile.
Correct.
Yeah, so I thought so I thought that was funny that we did get Deegan. He was connected through a bunch of our Pembroke guys that we had, and then he joined. Sounds like he had a good time playing with us, and then he brought one of his.
Well, and he brought one of his buddies along last year, March Assault, who was a big contributor on the mound for us and played a lot of outfield for us when we needed it too. And he could swing the stick a little bit.
He moves like a gazelle.
Yeah, he's 6'6" with legs about the size of Pat's torso.
Short.
That's awesome. Hey man.
Yeah, true. You got a short torso. He's got long legs.
The nice thing about the cable is that I'm sure you guys are going to talk about this later on. Is like every team is constantly adding pieces.
Yeah.
Because it's just getting deeper.
The competition keeps getting better. I mean, the prime example of that, which I think we kind of touched on last episodes, the Cubs. They keep just adding more and more and more talent, and it's kind of forcing the rest of us to keep getting better.
I think we should make them a North team.
Sounds like a good idea.
You need to have at least 3 arms, man. You need at least 3 starters and then a solid bullpen.
We've definitely learned that. We've been operating with 2 starters pretty much since we started the league. Since we started in the league, and this year we're rolling 3 starters out there with 2 or 3 guys that are capable of throwing out of the bullpen. So our pitching depth is going to be a lot better.
And that's something like when I built the Rough Riders last year, when we added pieces to the formerly known A's to the Rough Riders last year, we were thinking about we needed arms, and game 3 against the Cubs, I rolled out Johnny Etner because I was like, hey man, I need this guy to come through. He's a savvy vet. He threw strikes and he beat the Cubs in game 3. That was kind of like when I was like, oh man, like I'm definitely not going to fold this team if we could take game 4.
Yeah.
But after Johnny threw that game, I was like, damn, I had like kind of like faith restored because, I know we're going to talk about this later, but the first 2 games we were playing away down in Weymouth, Friday night and Sunday morning games against the Cubs, and we showed up with 10 guys to the finals, man. It was super frustrating. And that was kind of like the pattern of the season, just kind of scrambling to find guys when we had a 25-man roster, so and people are questioning a lot, like, oh, you're going from shifting, like, oh, you're going to manage a team, but now you're going to manage the league. But now we got 6 people, as you know, Chris, and Pat, like from the manager meetings, like it's a pretty solid board. Everyone kind of is contributing, and pulling their weight. So it's not just a one-man show, which is kind of like I was lost, as you guys know, as managers. You're kind of like on like a Saturday night before the game, you're texting people to make sure they're going to come.
Yeah, I think we started the season with a 16 or 17-man roster last year, and by the time we got to the playoffs, we had 12 guys eligible for the playoffs. I think
that's crazy.
One of which being Pat's brother, who we added exactly halfway through the season with 11 games left, because we said we're at his graduation party. I said, "Hey man, I think we've only got 9 guys showing up, and
we have a catcher tomorrow. Can you?
Yeah, we didn't have a catcher for the next day. Like, you want to just come play for us?" He's like, "Sure." And then he showed up to every game.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, showed up to every game the rest of the season and was eligible for the playoffs.
Get his jersey this year.
Yeah, he gets his own jersey this year. It's his reward. Well, you're right. I mean, it was frustrating because we had games. We had games where you're pressing to get guys at the last second. We had the second week of the season last year, one of our guys had his bachelor party up in New Hampshire. And me and Pat woke up at 5:15 on a Sunday morning to drive from Conway.
And came downstairs to wake me up, and I was still asleep.
True. But we drove back from Conway, New Hampshire to Pembroke. We picked up Zach Simpson and drove down to Plymouth to make sure we had enough guys to play. And
that's like the one thing about the Senators for me is like the scouting report is in a 3-game series, you're going to get Earhart the first game. If you could squeak out a win against him, then you're probably good.
Yeah,
you know,
that's probably true.
You know, but talking about some of the arms that you guys might have added, if you have 2 starters at least that can get you. I mean, that guy, Jason just eats innings, so
sure
you don't really have to worry about a bullpen. But it would be nice for him to be able to come out of the bullpen in Game 3 of a series, then start Game 1 of the next series if you needed him to, rather than burn him in Game 3 and then only have him maybe Game 2 or Game 3 of the next series. So that's the tough part, because he's an ace in the league. Multiple Cy Young winner. He's a great guy too, which is even better. I like him. I like him.
No,
so.
Jason is great, and he does eat a bunch of innings.
Good pitcher.
Yeah.
And then with
4 strikes.
Just going back to like the pitching staff a little bit. Now, we've had Jason since we entered the league, and we got him as a free agent.
Yeah, he was in the free agent pool. Our first year, he was in the free agent pool. We only had maybe 10 or 11 guys committed when we first entered the league, so I was in the free agent pool multiple times a day, and I think I messaged him about 45 minutes after he put his name into the free agent pool. I was like, hey, man, you want to come throw for us this weekend? We need pitching. And he showed up to where we were working out. He threw a bullpen. And I said, all right, cool, man. We'd love to have you on the team. If you want to come take some swings, we got a couple of cages over there. He goes, no, I'm just a pitcher. And then he left.
That's like the dream, dude. That's the dream. P.O. Where's he from?
He's originally from Western Mass, but he lives about 5 minutes from me in Attleboro now.
Oh, dude, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Good carpool, too.
Yes. We've got I feel like a school bus driver going to some of our practices and games. I got him that lives down the street. I've got John Lawler, who lives in Mansfield, that I pick up, and now Mike Sholem lives in Pawtucket. So
nice. The bucket.
Yeah. We've actually got 3 guys that live in Rhode Island that are going to be commuting down to Plymouth for games.
That's not that bad, dude.
And then we got guys in the North Shore too, though. We got
just
T.
one, just T now.
Well, T's out in Andover, so he loves those North Shore games that we have none of this year. So
I ran into him. I ran into him a few summers ago playing He played wood bat softball up here.
Oh, he is your prototypical softball body.
Correct.
He can rakes in softball.
Oh, yeah,
I bet he does.
Just throw him an outside hard slider, and you're good.
It's like the Giancarlo Stanton.
Sorry, team.
So just circling back a little bit, I know we talked about moving me around a little bit with position changes. We're going to see that with a few other guys too. Like
for sure.
Talking about T, we're probably going to see him more at first base than we have in the past.
Yep. Probably see some of me at first base. Probably see some of me in the outfield. You play in third. Sholin's going to move around a little bit between second and the outfield. We've got versatility, which is great. And I think we have more depth this year than we've had so far, which will be if this season ever gets off the ground, it'll be great for us.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as we do love Jake and Jason and Christian playing the field, hopefully we don't need to have that anymore, because we do have, like we said, we brought in some new arms. Most of those new arms are going to be probably used in relief out of the pen or something like that, with Troy coming in late in games, because we're going to probably roll with Earhart, like Dave said. Yep. Christian's coming off of an injury
last year. Yep.
Now, was that his elbow or his shoulder? I don't remember.
It was his shoulder, and it was affecting his neck and back somehow. I think he's got – I don't exactly know what the injury is, but he's feeling better now. He threw a bullpen a couple of weeks ago, and obviously that's not going to do anything now, because kind of resetting back to square one as far as throwing goes once we can get out on the field again. But he was feeling good there. He was throwing strikes. He was throwing hard, so that'll be good.
So sorry to distract you here for a second. I just pulled up the pitching stats for last year to get what Jason and Christian have. Mm-hmm. And you know who's at the top of the list?
I'm going to guess that's you, Pat, with your 2 1/3. Congratulations.
0-0 ERA.
You pitched 2 1/3 against the Black Sox and had a couple of unearned runs. Congratulations.
Thanks. But
what's the velo at, Pat?
About 34.
Pretty good.
It's not
Cam.
Cam throws it harder back to me than after.
No, I meant like kilometers. Cam. 34 Cam.
Yep, sure. So I did just want to pull up. Did you guys freeze on me? Oh, you guys froze. Oh no.
Uh-oh. Oh, there he is. He's back.
He's still there?
My internet connection is unstable. Can you hear me though?
Yep, we got you now.
Fine, man.
Sorry.
And your video is good too.
Sweet. So I did just want to pull up that because I know Christian, I think, had a better ERA than Jason did last year, right, Chris?
I don't know off the top of my head, but he might have.
What's that?
I don't know off the top of my head, but he might have. I mean, it sounds right.
But it was very, very close. Yeah, Christian had a 1.27 ERA last year, and Jason had a 1.43. So I mean,
man, down year for Jason.
I know. He definitely didn't have the run support and everything though. So having those two guys and then changing Marchessault's main role from kind of being that starter when we need them, but mainly coming out of the pen, he's going to be our number 3 guy going forward and go with that. I mean, I think that's a pretty decent pitching staff.
Yeah, it's also going to limit their innings during the regular season and keep them fresh during the playoffs. Because if there's one thing we've noticed is that Jason is usually exhausted by the time that we get to the playoffs and doesn't perform as well as he does in the regular season.
And you don't know who's going to pop up between now and the start of the season because these kids not playing college ball might not have had an opportunity to get placed in a summer league or looking for somewhere to go, pick up some innings. With our inning minimum requirement, it's not that hard to find 11 innings and then find 10 games for them to play somewhere else. If you're ever hurting for guys, you stick them in the outfield and throw them somewhere just as an EH.
Yep. So, hopefully we can add another arm. That's my ideal scenario before the season starts or early in the season is to add one more arm because I think we've got pretty good depth for position. No, I think we're pretty good depth for position players of 13 or 14 guys, but 3 or 4 pitchers would be nice to add at least one more.
Yeah. What's that $10 reward to, Dave?
It's from Bob's. I got it in the mail.
Oh, hell yeah.
It was in front of me. Bob's going out of business near us, so might go grab some shorts or something over there.
And then just any other off-season news that you want to talk about, Chris? I know I have a few things on here. I just don't know what we want to cover.
You want to talk about Lawler?
Yeah, I have it on there. I just don't know. You talk to him more than I do, so I didn't know if he
he's put it out there. He's given us permission. So, okay. Dave, I don't know if you know this. Back in October, one of our guys, John Lawler's, an outfielder for us, was diagnosed with lymphoma. So he spent the better part – I think he spent all of October, the beginning of November, and then a decent chunk of the rest of the winter in which hospital was he in? I don't know. In one of the hospitals in Boston, Beth Israel, getting cancer chemo treatments and getting chemo treatments and trying to fight lymphoma. And he was declared cancer-free in late January.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That's great news.
Yeah, he beat it. I think they told him it was going to be about 6 months, and he beat it in 3. He's been hitting with us. He's been throwing. He's been doing it all. Even before he was in remission, he's just been, powering through it and trying to, stay active. And it's
incredible, man. That's great.
It was very impressive to see the resolve, the resiliency, and the determination that he had to beat it. And I think that, quite honestly, I don't think I'm speaking in hyperbole. I think that looking forward to the season and getting ready for the season is something that motivated him to get back because that's all we would talk about while he was in the hospital. 3 or 4 times a week, I'd be getting texts being like, I can't wait for the season to start, or I need to start hitting, or I need to take fly balls. And I'm like, hey, man, how about you just deal with your cancer treatments first?
Yeah, for real, man. But that's awesome, man. That's why you have teams, though. That's why you have your brothers on these teams to kind of support you and kind of motivate you. I know he's probably got other friends and family too, kind of on his side, which is awesome. But I think kind of having these teams, that's what you kind of look for. You're not going to spend Sunday you don't want to be around. You're spending Sundays with people that you want to spend time with and could manage spending time with for a doubleheader if you had to.
Yep.
And then he's after and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's one of the guys on our teams that he shows up every game. He's coming for drinks and for food after the games. He's part of the group chats. He's one of the guys that's super active for us. And we've got on the back of our hats this year the lymphoma ribbon, and we'll be entering.
That looks awesome.
A T-shirt for him as well.
I love that, dude.
And we'll be putting a team into the Coaches vs. Cancer this upcoming September, or if it needs to I doubt it's getting rescheduled. But if
no, it's staying on the date.
Yeah, once we get that tournament organized, we'll be putting a team into that, probably called the Lymphomaniacs as well. So.
Oh, dude, I love that, man.
We'll be.
So does that mean that I don't have to manage the team this year, and we can just join your team?
Sure does.
Perfect.
Yeah. So that'll be something to look forward to, and we're also going to have a golf tournament at the end of our season.
Oh, perfect, dude.
So we're going to –
You're going to play.
So
yeah,
December?
You're definitely going to play. Yeah,
December?
probably, right? We have a date locked in October on a Saturday, so we should be
What
okay.
day? What day?
October 17th, Pat? 18th?
Oh, perfect. All right, you're good.
So, well,
because worst case scenario, if we have to extend the year, we're not. The main goal I think would be not to go past Columbus Day.
Okay.
Oh, 17th. Sorry, I lied.
17th, whatever it is.
It's a Saturday.
But we'll be.
I also think that might be a rain out date for the Cable Classic, but we have to check. We should check on that.
Yeah. Well, I think we can move it if we need to, but that's the date right now. But
you just put a team. You just put a team out there for the Saturday games, or just get a Saturday night game. I'm sure people will work with you.
Yeah.
Hey, question for the Senators.
Sure.
Did they cancel the Cooperstown? Did they cancel the Cooperstown tournament?
Not yet.
So
you guys
not
still
yet.
going?
As of right now, the tournament's still on as scheduled. Father's Day weekend, which we'll be going out to play against 9 teams from mostly around New England. There's one that comes up from North Carolina every year.
Isn't there a New York? Aren't there some New York teams too?
Oh yeah, there is New York.
Sure, there is.
From the Northeast, not just New England. Then, but we did
Mid-Atlantic too.
If you want to count Mid-Atlantic, sure. We did it a couple of summers ago before we actually joined the cable. That was kind of the impetus for us to join the cable, but
It did not go well.
It did not go well. But we had fun.
It doesn't matter, dude. It's all about fun.
So do you know Chris Collier on our team?
I know the name.
So he's a guy on our team that he's a big glue guy for us.
He's our team DJ.
Boy. One of the guys.
Oh, yeah, I know that guy.
Love hanging out with him. He could be a better baseball player, but we love having him on the team. We tried to put him at every single position at one point during our game. And then it got to he was at second base.
At second base, yeah.
He caught, and then he played first, and then he played second. And there were 2 routine fly balls that he just couldn't get to. And
so
we're
he
like,
didn't get the pitch.
We go, all right, we're done with this.
That was the end of that experiment. It was the consolation game, so it didn't really matter. But
it was fun, though. Playing on double day.
Sick, though, man.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So
hell yeah, man.
I also go ahead, Pat.
I was just gonna say more information on that golf tournament will come out once this whole virus thing settles down. We'll
Correct.
get that out. We're gonna see if we can hook up with either Griffin Bats, talk to Ariel or Dovetail. We'll talk to some of our contacts there to do some sponsorships, even Squad Locker a little bit. That's where we get all of our clothes from.
Maybe the Lazy Dog wants to throw a sponsorship for a hole.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, the Lazy Dog, we do our own golf tournament for the Giants too, so I'm sure we could figure it out. Revamp could also potentially sponsor too.
Cool.
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about Revamp. Didn't you guys just get a new sponsor with you and Mike too?
Partnership that we just established with BlazePod's reactionary tool system. We got another one with Hiko sticks coming up. I don't know if you guys remember, we were playing with those. They're 3-sided stick, 3 different colors.
Yep.
And we just are talking with
hand-eye tool, right?
Yeah, hand-eye. And then there's another one called the Vector Ball, which you bounce the ball around and it changes colors. So we're going to we have some phone calls coming up with those. And, there's a few other things in the works with Revamp right now. Mike Hicks is one of the co-founders. He's doing a great job kind of being on the front lines, establishing a lot of partnerships with the YMCA and up here and then working with a lot of different companies around here like Austin House, working with some local high schools, a lot of different youth athletes, adult athletes. So Revamp's going well.
So is Revamp more of like mental training or physical training, or is it a hybrid of the two?
It's a hybrid for me. I mean, you're talking about mental resiliency and also physical training. So it's cognitive conditioning. That's kind of like what we're trying to do with every athlete. And I think it's not even just athlete related. For me, it's a mix of everyone, So Mike trains a brain injury patient every week. So he's working with her on just kind of cognitive development, which is cool. And, our Instagram page is R3VAMP Elite. So go check that out. He's posting videos every day or two or 3 times a week. This recent one, he talked about breathing. So that helps a lot, So I think the big thing is just getting this off the ground right now is really hard with the virus because everything's closed, Mike and I are both at the A's baseball facility in Woburn, and we had a really great kickoff event, and then we had to close. So which is like brutal.
Now the whole idea with that, I mean, I'm coming from a phys ed background, if you couldn't tell, with my degree in physical education.
I
But
love it.
you're trying to get athletes to enter like flow state, right?
Yeah. So flow state?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's basically the nuts and bolts of it is so I have a trigger. So my trigger when I'm pitching is I look down at my shoes and then I look up at the mitt, and then that turns on flow state for me. That's like my trigger. So like I look at my front right toe. It's so weird, but like everyone has their.
How can we use this, Chris?
Yeah.
How can we use this? We can't look at his feet.
Well, I mean,
You can't.
Dave, how about I know we both understand what this is, but why don't you talk to Pat like he doesn't know what flow state is?
So it's basically it's establishing, layman's terms, you establish a routine, right? So for me, if you establish a routine, it gets you in your zone and you get locked in. So do you ever like are in such a rhythm where you forget what you just did? So like, I blacked out. I forgot that I like drove to work, like, because you've done it every day, the same time,
right.
The same way, your routine is set. That's like layman's terms flow state for me. Mike Hicks, we should definitely have him on as a guest if you guys want to talk a little bit about it more. He has the more scientific psychology background, but for me, from like the smallest understanding of it is when I was pitching in college and people were yelling at me because I was too short about being on the mound, right? Oh, you're too short. You need to be at least this tall to, pitch. And I'm like, these guys are jerks.
Ride this ride.
Yeah, basically, right? But then like it's just kind of controlling your breathing, blocking out the noise, and locking in. So it's basically, when you're at your top physical game, for me, and just locking into that rhythm or routine. So what's your routine when you get up to the plate after you hear your walkout song by by the Lonely Island?
This question's for you, Pat, then.
Yeah.
No, I mean everyone always has a routine.
So
when I get there, I always clear out the box, make sure it's level.
But it starts even earlier than that when you're putting on your Evo Shield leg pad.
Leg pad, elbow pad, wrist guard, shin guards.
Yeah, it starts even earlier than that. Think about but obviously it's situational flow too. But like when you wake up for a 10 a.m. game, like how do you prepare? I know this is like crazy talking about it from like an adult perspective, like adult men's league, but like, dude, it starts from like if I was to be in Plymouth for an 8 a.m. game from Peabody, I would probably wake up at 6 a.m., do my RPR, which we could talk about. That's another company that we're working with. We could talk about that another time. Little tease there. RPR is great. So it's like
professional tease.
Waking up your nervous system. So like doing stuff like that. It's like a warm up for your nervous system. Like they call it foam rolling your nervous system, which is really cool. And Mike and I are both certified in doing that too, which is cool. So you do that and then, get out of bed, brush your teeth, have breakfast, get in the car, stop at a Shell station on the way there. And then when you get to the field, that's when your on-field routine starts. So, I mean, it's so intricate and there's so many different ways to kind of describe it, but I think it's just being locked in. Like, Pat, like do you teach PE?
Not anymore. So I graduated. I tried to go the whole teacher route, and then things didn't line up getting a job-wise, so I'm actually a recruiter now.
Oh, perfect. So, dude, talk about routine setting, man. That's sales 101. That's like it's so hard to kind of identify what could keep you locked in that, but you have to be, because if you don't, you don't get paid. So I mean,
very true.
So I mean, there's so many different ways to kind of conceptualize what revamp is. It's basically it's for people that are trying to become better people, well-rounded individuals. And also, honestly, we're training a lot of athletes right now, but it's not just for athletes too. It's self-confidence too. It's boosting self-confidence within yourself and within your team.
Yeah, it's a way of life, and it's a commitment to strive for that. And if you do it, you're definitely going to see the results. But I think we can definitely go into a little bit more in depth with this when the whole virus thing backs off. You're able to do a little bit more stuff on that end. Definitely get Mike in sometime. We'll talk to him about it as well.
For sure.
But just kind of moving on, because I know we've been rambling about a few things here. we're going to move up to the North Shore talking about the Giants. Last time we did just give a quick breakdown of those Rough Rider guys that did join. I know yourself, you joined along with Mike Hicks, who we were talking about before. Reigning Cy Young, Nick Panzini, along with his catcher in the battery, Eric Baca. Anyone else join there, Dave? That
Garrett Doobie. He was a great add too. He was a playoff hero for the Rough Riders last year. Great guy. Baca I've known since I was 17. He was my college catcher. He's my best man at my wedding. So I kind of brought him onto the A's. Yeah, I think he's the best catcher in the league personally. And that's probably, I mean, we're getting old though, but he has a cannon and he could hit. So
I've only seen him play in like 4 or 5 games. I've seen the guy hit 2 home runs.
Yeah, I mean, he's and he's humble too. He works really hard. He had a chance his senior year to get drafted, and then he broke his wrist. So it was tough. Then he tried to come back, and he tried to come back too early. So that was a little heartbreaking. But then we've been playing together pretty much every year since we graduated college, and then
that's awesome.
We took a few years off. We were up in the Concord Sunset League when we were living in New Hampshire. Then we took a few years off. I joined the CABL in 15. He was living in PA. And then in 18, I was like, dude, come back to baseball, man. And then that was it, so we're just, back together. And then Hicks is a different story, brought him on in 18, won the Rookie of the Year with the A's. And then Revamp was kind of our baby. And then we kind of took over Revamp, which is why it's so, heartbreaking that it folded. But it just ended up not being the right fit at the time, And it was unfortunate that I folded it so quick, we folded it so quick. But it was just – the writing was on the wall in July, man.
Yeah.
And it was unfortunate.
And I know we've said this before. Every time we bring up that the team fold and everything, we're gonna get to that later. We do have a bunch of questions we can ask you on that. But actually,
so we added a few more guys too. So recent add was Curtis Tyrone. He's a shortstop, so that'll fill the void of V leaving. And then we've been having some new arms kind of showing up. And, coming out and throwing for us. So I think pitching is going to be a big strong point for the Giants this year.
It always is, too. Between Johnny Surratt and
Mancini coming in.
Yeah.
Movies coming there, too.
I think Surratt's looking good. And Surratt's looking good. And Fern is looking good. There's a righty that tried out or came to work out with us a few weeks ago that looked pretty good. Panzini obviously has been working really hard. He's throwing upper 80s now, trying to touch 90s, really working on trying to get there.
Well, that's not fair. He shouldn't be in this league doing that.
The big thing is, I talk to Panzini about this all the time. I talk to him every day, and we talk about this all the time. I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter how hard you throw. If you walk guys, it doesn't matter. So you're going to get yourself into positions into positions where you're not going to be comfortable because you're training out of the windup most of the time. Then you go to the set for 20 pitches in a bullpen every few weeks.
Yep.
You're walking guys. It's never going to be comfortable. So, there's a few guys I don't really know, but the hitting looks like it's really coming along. Losing Terrio, stinks because he's a great leader, a great guy. He's basically the reason why I joined the Giants. He was kind of in my ear after the finals, and we were talking a lot about, next year. And he said, hey, man, this is a great opportunity if you're thinking about folding. Having the opportunity to play at Frazier is going to be really fun. We got 11 games there this year. I think it's an inevitable rebound, but I'm really interested to see what the North has to bring because there's 3 new teams in the North.
Yep.
So the Rockies are coming back. There's the playoff team coming back strong.
They've added some pieces too. They're going to be tougher than they've been in the past.
Yep, you got the Expos who the on paper look great.
Yep.
And then
jerseys. I love those.
Yeah.
Retro Expos jerseys.
And then you got it's going to be sick, dude. Then you got us. Then you got the 2 Lowell teams. One Mark's Black Sox, now the Mill City Mustangs. And then the
great logo again, by the way.
Yeah, dude, that looks sick.
Awesome logo.
It's going to be that's going to be a division that's going to be tough to predict where we're going to fall.
Yeah.
I would like to say top 2, but I don't know what else is out there because we don't know 3 of the teams. So
there's so much uncertainty with the new teams.
Yeah,
coming into the league.
A rebound. I mean, I mean, if we perform like we're supposed to, and Kimber is healthy and can be a force in the middle of that lineup, he's going to get a lot more protection around him with Baca, Hicks, Roberts. You got OB coming back too. Oblenis coming off an injury. He's coming back. You get him going.
He's the center fielder, right?
Yeah.
I remember him hitting about 400 and just being other than
he's
other
super
than maybe
fast.
Micah Hearn, he's the fastest guy in the league. I don't know who's
Yeah,
faster.
man, he's super fast. You know, so and then I mean, obviously Hicksy and Smitty, all those guys. Everett, you know, Roberts.
Don't be humble, Dave. You hit like 450 last year too.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter about me. Ramo, Ramo's a good player too. I mean, I hate if I'm gonna forget guys, but you know, there's a lot of good guys. I mean, I was nervous joining the team because it's unfortunately they got a target on their back just being the Giants, but I like it actually. You know, I've never been a guy that's been on a team that's kind of been like hated unanimously throughout the league.
I mean, it is weird to have a team in a men's league that's you're right. I mean, they're pretty unanimously disliked throughout the league, and I don't think it's necessarily because I don't think that most of the guys on the team are individually hated. I think just as a whole, the attitude that the Giants bring might rub some teams the wrong way. I like it because it adds a competitive factor to it, but it's fire. I still have a dislike for the team, and I think that's good for the league. I think it's healthy.
I think that's what it was. Like when we first joined the league, we played the Giants, and I was like, look at these idiots. Like what the heck is this?
Yeah.
Like I individually got to know a bunch of people on the team, like Paul and Mike and stuff like that, and Kimber through the All-Star games.
Shane's awesome too. Like I don't know if you ever had an opportunity to talk with Shane. He's first base coach and is kind of always around the team. He's our glue. You know, he's a great guy. He's a guy that I talk to once or twice a week too. He just keeps in touch with people. You know, obviously you guys have a group chat, I'm sure, with the team that they just send extremely dirty memes to each other throughout and make fun of each other. It's every other team.
Fun of the Asian guy on the team.
It's like. Dude, it's like every other team, man, and I think that the guys, you know, and if they get heated, that's because they want to win, you know. Exactly. And I think that's another reason why, like, who carries a 25-man roster and 25 people actually show up to the game?
I mean, it's incredible to be able to do that. We can barely get 13, 14 guys to show up to a game. Never mind carrying a full roster everywhere you go.
You know, that makes me excited about this season because, you know, being on a team that's going to have guys that are going to be there makes, you know, and then impact players too that are going to be there. And then I won't feel bad if I have to miss a game because, you know, I'm having a kid, right? If I have to miss a game, if Jackie, you know, is having a, you know, tough day and I can't make it, you know, or after the baby's born, if I need a week off, like I'm not going to have to worry about, you know, missing a game, you know, and which was tough. I mean, I'm not saying like impact player me, just missing a game so we don't forfeit. Yeah, you know, that was like, you know.
Honestly, that speaks to the character of the guys on the team too. If you can carry 25 guys and have, you know, 18 plus show up every game, because guys know they're going to show up and not be playing, and to be selfless enough to still show up every week, support your teammates, and be there when you do need to get in the game, and be ready to play when you get in the game. That's huge.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like that,
especially in a men's league. Everybody's paying to be here. We're giving up our Sundays, and I think a lot of guys kind of understand what's going on. But obviously, there's going to be guys around the league that if you're not playing, you're going to get frustrated, especially if somebody else in your team is not maybe performing as well as they normally do. If you don't get in the game, it's, you know, it speaks to the character of the guys on the team that they're willing to show up every game despite the fact that they might not be playing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
And like just going off of that, I mean, I know when we played the Cubs in the last season, like everyone was buying into that game. Like just on the Cubs side, I was standing in the field and watching all these guys, and they're like, if we could just get – I mean, we do have a core set of guys that are about 8 or 9 that buy in, and it's great. But we always do have those few guys that are like, like I want to play baseball, but they don't like buy in yet.
I mean, that's another thing too. Like there's a few more guys that I forgot about, like Casper is a lefty bat. He's nasty. You know, you got Jim Tracy, who's good, Regato. I mean, there's just so much depth on this team. I think it's going to be hard to fail. But I think there's going to be some speed bumps because you got new guys coming in that we started in 22 out of 22 games. We're there at every single game, you know, and it's going to be, we don't want to lose. And if we see the writing on the wall, like, we're struggling. We're going to be vocal. So that's the thing. Like, we're coming in as veterans, but we're rookies on this team. So that's going to be a tough kind of social aspect. I mean, it's been fine at practice, but it's different when you get between the chalk, dude.
Completely different animal.
So
I definitely think a few things that we touched on here we'll definitely talk about in other episodes. I know me and Chris have talked about like trying to cover a different issue in men's league baseball. Oh, we're good. Different issue in men's league baseball, and he's gone. Every week.
Checking my battery. Let's check my battery. I'm gonna go get my charger. I'll be right back.
No problem. I know me and Chris have talked about addressing a different issue in men's league baseball every week, and this getting guys to buy in, getting them to show up. These are all things that we definitely want to talk about at some point, but we need to find the answers first. And once we do that, we'll definitely reach out and share. But I know with Mike gone, he did talk about Terrio leaving and Desai moving on. He's playing indie ball this year. So you're losing one of your core outfielders and your shortstop, who were big big
Contributors.
Big focal points for that lineup. And I know it was a disappointing end for that season for them last year, facing the Rockies and getting beat by them. But they're definitely.
You gotta admit though, that was good for the league though.
Yeah. We talked about that last week. We definitely think it was the whole having 10 teams in this playoffs with those lower ranked teams even beating us, the Dodgers, and the Rockies beating the Giants definitely helps the league, saying that we have talent everywhere. Yep. And then we did talk about Surrett coming off of an injury. He's definitely been that ace for the Giants for the last few years. So him coming back, getting healthy, not having to play the field and pitch this year definitely is going to help. And then
having time to rest his arm a little bit, because think about Inferno. Him and Inferno have just been burning. So now you got Panzini, you got Blake too. Like Blake throwing innings. Like, I'm hoping to get back on the mound more this year. I focused a lot last year on the Boston Sox and the Mabel, which I played on last year, the last 2 years, which was fun. I'm probably still going to pitch for them a little bit too, but I'm hoping to get back on the mound more this year for the CABL, and I miss pitching. And then you got this kid Billy O'Donnell, who's another lefty that throws hard. So there's plenty of options. But dude, we have to be team first. Like, we can't go out and expect to throw complete games every game. Like, if you throw 5 innings and then you have another guy that can throw an inning and then a closer, that's fine. If you're up,
you want to come coach the Senators? Because you're up coach that just rides the starter the whole game.
We also have only had like 3 pitchers a year, so I don't want to hear it.
And then I think another big thing I don't remember if he was injured last year, but getting Kimber to some more games. You definitely will have that addition.
He was injured.
Yeah.
Okay. Having that
he tore his hamstring, dude, and still played. He's a very
psychopath, apparently.
Scary dude outside, but when we did our introductory little party, when we all went down there, me, Hicks, Panzini went all down there to take photos and have fun with them.
Why can't
dude? Like 20 guys showed up, dude, to that.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? That's crazy.
That's what we're trying to build with our team. We've got, like Pat mentioned, we've got a core group of guys that will do silly stuff like that or fun stuff like that, but that's what we're trying to build, is a full roster of guys that want to be involved and, be team guys, but want to take this league too seriously.
I would implore the league to just look at the Giants just a little bit differently this year. I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash for that, but there's a lot of good guys on that team.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big hearts, good people that care about this league, that have been in the league for a while.
Yeah.
And
that's great.
I think we're going to make some noise, but I think this league this year is going to be super competitive. I'm super excited for it to get going.
Yeah. And hopefully this whole virus thing ends pretty soon so we can get out on the field and
I know.
In there. And then, I know we talked about last time, but the biggest thing with this league is just getting together with the boys and hanging out. And I know what's the saying? Saturdays are for the boys, but Sundays.
Sundays are for the Sens.
Sundays are for the Sens. Nice. That's a good one.
So yeah,
let's talk about the Marlins.
Yeah, so we're going to move on there. The Marlins playing out of the Central. none of our teams are in the Central, so it's definitely going to be tough to talk about them. But the biggest thing that I saw is they don't have Groffy on their lineup this year.
Nope, sure don't.
So Groffy Cruz, he ended up hitting 391 average last year with 2 home runs.
All-Star game MVP.
That's right. He was the All-Star game MVP. I forgot about that aspect.
He led off a lot last year.
What's that?
He led off for them a lot last year. I remember when we played them, he led off a lot. So, we played them in that 3-game series for the Rough Riders. They're a good team, man. They're always going to be in it. The Powers brothers, that's a tough 2-3, however they hit 2-3, 3-4 to plan around and get by. Yep. They're a good hitting team. Teddy is a great hitter. You got Jovan who had a Cy Young caliber.
Oh boy.
This sounds so weird right now.
Dave, you're cutting in and out really weird right now.
Let me get off the my Wi-Fi.
So Dave,
I think what he's trying to get at is that they're a deep team. They're constantly adding talent, which is impressive, and I think that they do a good job of retaining their talent.
Yeah, exactly.
Groffy's going to be their big loss in the lineup, and I think I heard that Watanabe is not going to be throwing for them this year. Dave, you can correct me if I'm wrong there, but
so I know I took a look at their roster. He is listed on their roster. He's not listed as inactive or anything, but he was a very solid pitcher for them. I know we have had discussions with it. First game of the season, he went on through a complete game.
Complete game no-hitter against the Giants.
Yeah.
I think he hit one batter, and that's why I think he hit the first batter of the game, if I remember correctly.
No, he hit Kimber.
Yeah, Kimber, okay. And that's why he didn't end up with a perfect game in the opener last year. But he only ended up throwing 3 games for them.
I mean, they're opening it up against the Mariners if we, in a perfect world, if we start on the 19th, and that's going to be a great game.
Yeah.
That first game. Just looking at their roster right now.
Costume change.
Johnny Ardenzinger is nasty. He's a great player. Corey O'Neal's another guy. Polonia. I mean, you got the Powers brothers, like we said, are good. And then some of their new ads. Oh, don't forget about Ricky Mendez either, man. That's that 3-4-5 with him, Powers, and with him, Nick and Manny are going to be hard to beat around. And then putting in John Ardenzinger in there, it's going to be a tough team to pitch around. They're going to be a really tough team to pitch around.
Yeah. I mean, we've only seen them twice since they joined the league. We caught them in 2018, and they beat us. I think it was 3-0. But you're right, the Powers brothers. Manny took Earhart very, very deep to left field in Saugus, and we still let him.
Manny no-hit us, dude. Manny showed up in game 1 of our of the semifinals and no-hit us. So and that he's not even really an arm for them, and he's probably gonna get mad at me if he hears this. But he no-hit us.
Nobody's listening.
There's a big if there, Dave. Don't worry.
But eventually, when this goes viral, but Nick and Jovan, they're a great 1-2, and then adding this new guy that we're eventually going to discuss from Indy Ball.
So
looks like they might be formidable.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely jump in there. So they are grabbing Alex Teal. I believe that's how it's pronounced. It looked like he was pitching in Indy last year in the
Pecos League.
What was it?
I think you said the Pecos League.
Yeah, it was the Pecos League. He pitched 2 seasons there. He ended up going 7-4 in those 2 seasons, allowing 139 hits with a 5.65 ERA. I mean,
that's professional baseball that you're talking about.
While those numbers look fantastic, it's definitely a higher level than the cable. So he's definitely going to come in and be a
pretty good career at Fitchburg State, though.
I didn't see that.
Pretty good career at Fitchburg State. I mean, he's from Malden, so it makes sense for him to join the Malden Marlins, obviously. But he had a pretty good career at Fitchburg, and then I think he went to Worcester too. After that, he might have transferred over to Worcester State, and I think his last year there, if I was looking it up right, if that was 2013, went 5-5 with a 2.0 ERA, 64 Ks and 63 innings. So he looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to be a good arm for them to have. I also have that just looking at the team preview, they added Mark Woodman. Looks like he's going to be someone they're going to slide in their lineup. I don't know what position he's playing, or I couldn't find any information on him. But
it looks like he's a catcher. They've listed in their preview that he's going to be pairing up with Bobby Campbell to be behind the plate.
Yeah, Bobby's good too. Bobby's a good catcher.
Admittedly, I don't know anything about the Marlins. We've only played them twice, and last year they did not bring their top squad down to Plymouth to play us opening week, and they were missing a bunch of guys.
I mean, the thing that stood out to me about Teal, 9 games started it in 2013, and he had 6 complete games. So he's going to give them some depth, like with Powers and with Jovan, that they're not going to really need to use a bullpen. Maybe Manny comes out of the bullpen this year. If he's itching a pitch again.
Well, I know just looking at these stats from last year too. I mean, batting wise, they kind of fell in the middle of the pack, hitting 282 as a team, and then even pitching wise, they're also in the middle of the pack with their ERA around 2.24. Which, I mean, adding these guys, I know losing Groffey is going to be huge, but adding these new guys, I think they definitely could give the Central a little push there.
I mean, yeah, I think they're going to be a team to beat in the Central. I think I could tell you Manny Powers, I remember following him a lot at the beginning of the year, and he started off really slow, and to finish the year at 320 is impressive. So he did well, and Nick, obviously, he's tough to pitch around.
Yeah. And, I mean, obviously in a league like this, there are teams where, like, you're facing the bottom of the order. There are guys you can just pump fastballs by. Those guys that you're naming here aren't any of those guys. They're definitely going to hit in the meat of lineup. They're going to be getting on base. They're going to be driving in runs. So it's definitely something that you're going to need to keep in the back of your mind when you're facing them. But
losing Groffey, though, is a big deal.
Yeah, it's huge.
Oh yeah.
That's going to change the whole complexion of their lineup. They're going to have to find a new leadoff guy or a new 2-hitter, and that's going to maybe move Manny up or move Nick up or move John around. It's going to move people out of their comfort zone maybe,
And I know we were talking about the Giants, like losing Desai, like he's your shortstop. He's like the captain of your infield, things like that. But losing Groffey is probably the biggest loss of the offseason by a team, I would say. At least the one I'm talking here.
You give those guys a pat on the back for going to extend their playing career in indie ball.
Exactly.
For sure.
That's what we want, out of the CABL, right? Seeing these guys that are young to potentially continue somewhere else, but it definitely hurts the teams,
Yeah. But I hope the Marlins can bounce from that. I mean, adding these new guys, I think I don't want to say fill the void, but I definitely think it will help. And I definitely think they're going to be a good team out there in the Central. And
it'll be them, the Braves, and the Gators, in my opinion, will be competing for that top spot. I think the Marlins are probably. My prediction is that they'll take the top spot in the Central. Braves and Gators battling for number 2. Once again, I don't know much about the Brewers. And then, the Dodgers are coming back year 2 after making the playoffs, so you can't count them out either. But the Marlins are a powerhouse.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they've got to be the favorites to take the Central right now.
So, I mean, anyone else have anything else to say? I think we've said our piece. We're kind of circling around here. Moving on.
Sorry, Marlins. We don't know much about you. We'll move on.
We'll get the Marlins man on here. We'll talk to him.
It's been me anyway.
Next thing I really have on this outline is the season lineup. The season update. We basically talked about that. There's going to be a managers meeting on Tuesday. We'll get more information then. Next week, we'll let you know what's going on and see what's happening with this whole virus outbreak. And yeah, that's really about it.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything. I think it's inevitable. We're probably going to have to postpone a little bit, but we do not want to compromise the integrity of our season. We want to keep the 22 games. And if that means pushing it out, we will. But we got to first thing we're worried about right now is permits. If we can get the permits,
Right.
I don't think we're going to be fighting with the MIAA because I don't know if this spring season is
sound like they're
going
to have a season,
which will suck for all those seniors and everything. But
yeah,
if they're 18, come play with us.
Yeah, right.
Good call. I think the beauty of our league and being able to push it out a little bit later is that there aren't a huge percentage of college guys making up these rosters. So
sorry, Hunter.
I think most people are okay with playing later into the fall.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens at the managers meeting. I'll definitely I'll give you guys a report next time.
Sounds good. And then the last thing I got in here is just some questions for Dave. So I know that we're going to try and get a guest on every week covering one of the teams that we're going to be talking about for that week. So with the Giants this year, figured we get the president of the league, Dave, on here on the Giants, talk about that. And just, like we've said before, we don't have too much experience with the people in the Central, so a guy that's been around a little bit to kind of talk about that too. But circling back to what we talked about, I know we've been mentioning the Rough Riders and kind of moving on from that team and everything. What was like the thought process you had there? And I know you said it wasn't meant to be, but maybe you can kind of just talk us through that, because we were in the same position last year where Chris was calling me almost every week, being like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. No one's sending me money. Everyone's complaining about all this shit. Like, what was the pushing point for you?
I think it was just chasing people down in the playoffs. After we busted our ass all year, chasing people down in the playoffs, people being concerned about playing time in the playoffs. Mike and I managing the team, we kind of co-manage the team, but it was tough to kind of mediate and separate friends from trying to win a championship, for some people. And, and it's unfortunate because I probably lost a few friends over folding the team, which sucks, because I miss those guys, but I think the big thing is, I was worried about, I didn't want to have that extra stress level. I was texting Mike every day. I mean, we talk every day anyway, but this is the focus of our conversation every day. Like, what the hell is going on with these guys? What the hell is happening? Why aren't people showing up to games? It was frustrating. We had a great lineup and we had a great bunch of guys, but when we're chasing guys down on the last doubleheader of the season to get them eligible for playoffs, that was kind of like the tipping point for me when I was scrambling to put a lineup together to get a guy in the last game of the season because he was running late. And I'm like, dude, he's not going to be eligible for playoffs. I just didn't want to deal with that anymore. And I hate being selfish about it. It was a great experience for me managing that team. I was blessed to take over and co-manage with Corey Hayward for the A's, which was a really fun team. Then we kind of came together and we're like, he wanted to just play, and I was like, all right, well, I'll run the team with Mike, and then we changed to the Rough Riders because we want to revamp the sponsor of the team.
By the way,
yeah, we got those from China.
I love them.
Yeah, it was fun. But then I bought all the jerseys, and then chasing people down for money for the league was never really an issue, but chasing people down to show up for games was, and it was. Like I said at the beginning, we had 10 guys at the first two finals games, and it was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
So it just – that was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back for me.
And it's definitely –
and it sucks, but –
yeah. It's definitely I don't know what the word I want to use here. It's unique to see the fact that we were having the same issues. And, I mean, we're not running for a championship here.
Right.
Like, we're trying to get into the playoffs and do some damage there. And once you get into the playoffs, who knows what happens. But, I mean, we're not showing up to a championship game yet. And hearing that you guys are having the same issues that we are, like we talked about last week, Chris, like chasing people down, trying to get them to games. Those of you who don't know, our requirements we play a 22-game season. You need to be at 11 games. So you need
10.
To be at
10 games.
10 games.
10.
Be at just under half the games, and you need to have so many. I forget you need to have so many.
11 innings to pitch in the playoffs, or 22 plate appearances throughout the season.
So not getting 22 plate appearances in 10 games. I mean, I understand where it can come in, but if you're signing up to play baseball in the summer, like, we understand you want to play baseball, so show up.
Yeah.
Last year we had two guys that paid for the full season and might have played a combined 9 games together, which it just baffles me that you're willing to spend that much money and then not show up. And now one of our guys had injury issues, and that's why he stopped playing. And I mean, this is also the third straight year that he's played like 4 or 5 games, and it's like, never mind. But
part of the team, man.
The other guy had been around for at least 15 games or so each of the first 2 seasons, and then last year he paid his league fee, and then
he got a girlfriend in Connecticut.
Yeah, he just stopped showing up. We had to We had one game late in the season against the Mariners, and Pat was running into some issues where he didn't know if he was going to be able to make it. So I had to text this guy and basically be like, hey, man, we need bodies tonight. Can you please show up? This is going to be the game. He lived in Revere, too, so I kind of got not wanting to come to Plymouth. But I'm like, we're playing in Boston tonight. We only have 8 guys guaranteed to show up. Can you please just show up? And he just showed up at game time, and Pat ended up making it. So we threw him in the lineup to EH, but we haven't really heard from him since.
I mean, that's the stuff we dealt with every week, you know?
Yeah.
The last time we saw that guy, too, is in Dedham. They had a foul ball, ruined his rear windshield, and then he never showed up again.
Yeah, that's correct. But the most frustrating part for me is the most frustrating part for me is when guys would text and say, oh, yeah, I'll be at the game, and then they just don't show up.
Yeah.
If you can't make a game, that's, I've always said, that's fine. I don't care. If you can't make a game, if you got something going on, it is what it is. Just let me know so I can find somebody to play, and we don't need to forfeit. Because I don't think a lot of these guys, Dave, know what the cost ramifications are of forfeiting a game. And that doesn't – the way we budget our team is we're going to break even. If everybody pays their part and does their part, we're going to break even on money for the season. So anything
managers
coming out of my pocket.
Managers spend more money.
Oh, God, yeah. I spent probably close to 3 times as much as anybody else last year. And I'm not complaining because I'm the one that wants to run the team. But
it was fun, dude. But
yeah,
I think the one word I would describe it is just heartbreaking, to have to fold it.
Yeah.
And I've wrestled with that since we folded, losing guys and losing contact with some of these guys. It sucked. But it is what it is. Phone works both ways. I haven't reached out. They haven't reached out. It is what it is. Maybe when the dust settles a little bit more, I could maybe make contact again. But some of these guys, we were boys, for the last 3 years, and it's just tough to kind of lose them, So,
I mean, it's definitely heartbreaking to hear that. I know, but I mean, I know you were saying that you were a player on the A's, and then Corey didn't want to run the team anymore. He just wanted to play. You became the manager. Now you're just a player on the Giants. Like, what has that transition been like? I know.
Awesome. Not having to worry about who's coming to practice. Not having to worry about chasing people down. It's just been a stress relief, especially with the baby coming. Not have to worry about that, and then jumping on a team that has an established fundraising platform with the Giants has been really great. We were supposed to have a fundraiser today. Obviously, it's getting pushed because the bar was closed. But Mike Roberts does a great job, along with Shane, who also helps him with kind of like team day to day. So it's been a different kind of. It's been different. It's been great.
Awesome. So I mean, definitely less stress is always the best.
Well, less stress there going from not managing a team to playing on a team, but you also took over the league as league president in your first year on the board. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what that's been like so far? I mean, I've talked to you pretty consistently about it, considering I'm also on my first year on the board. But tell us a little bit what it's like being the president.
I think you kind of have some of the same problems chasing people down, but when you connect, though, the same passion is there because you signed up for the board because you knew what you were getting into. So just once we get connected and getting on the phone, relying on some of those veterans like Alex and Nick and Mike to kind of shed light on what's happening with the new guys like me, you, and Kelly from the Cubs. I think that's a really good group. I think the league's in really good hands with those guys, and being the president is great. Following in Carp's footsteps it's a big ass shadow. He basically helped found this league, along with the other guys that are still on, some of the guys that are still on the board. So they have a vision. We're trying to make sure the league is still competitive, and I think there's more responsibility as a president and being on the board in general more than managing the team. But I think it's easier because you have like-minded individuals that all kind of share in like the weight. So it's been really great. It's been frustrating sometimes because I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, what do we do? Because it's my first year. But it's been overall pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I know one of my lines from last week was I started saying I would never say anything bad about anyone on the board, and then I stopped myself and said I would definitely say something bad about them, but everyone on the board definitely cares about this league and the way it goes. So there's no one questioning you there. Everyone thinks you have the the benefits of the league involved. So it's definitely good to hear that. And then you mentioning Carp. I mean, me and Chris have talked off air that we do at some point want to get Carp on here just to kind of give a deeper dive into the Royal Rooters League. Royal Rooters?
Yep, Royal Rooters.
Royal Rooters League.
Yeah.
Where we came from, things like that. So I think once the season starts and games start going on, that's something that we can do once we get all these team previews out of the way. But that's good to hear there. So I'm sorry, I'm reading and I can't read and talk at the same time because I have a second grade reading ability.
And a physical education degree.
I know that we were talking before about like trying to get guys to games and it kind of ruined a few friendships with you. But Chris, this is kind of talking to you too. I mean, we discuss lineups and stuff like that and who should play when, but ultimately you have the end decision there.
Mm-hmm.
So just going back to your Rough Riders days, Dave. How did you try and balance like getting guys enough time, rather trying to compete for a championship, things like that? So I know people were getting aggravated, but
I would honestly, I would take myself out of the lineup first, which would be just to show people that it wasn't about playing all the time. I played in 22 games and only had like 50 plate appearances where it should have been close to 70, right? So kind of funneling people in,
so that's how you got such
getting those starters. Yeah. Getting those starters at least 2 at bats, and then if we had a big lead, kind of taking them out. But you needed a core in there, at the end of the day, looking back, if I were to do it differently, I would have probably changed my messaging from the beginning of the year and said like, hey, we're just going to play to win, not about individuals, but unfortunately that's the bad thing about wanting to rewind time. You can't.
Yeah.
So and I think that that attributed a little bit to the kind of team going down, because maybe it was a management style that just I didn't manage it right, or some guys would show up and they're great players, so I'm like, they need to be in the lineup. And then I would mix message maybe it was construed as mixed messaging, but it was tough, because I wanted to win. We went 14-8. We should have, we shouldn't have lost 8 games. Though we shouldn't have lost half of those games. We should have won. We should have at least been 18-4 in my opinion. But making some decisions around, getting people in and working people in, and because people pay $250+ to play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you want people to get the benefit of the doubt. That was the tough part about managing, and that's why I was kind of like, I don't want to be responsible for that anymore. I was done.
Well, I know we didn't go 14-8, but I mean, we did have similar situations where we've kind of, I know I'm talking for the both of us here, Chris, but we've kind of developed our off season here in having those conversations with our guys, being like, look, like we can either go out there, everyone gets equal playing time and everyone plays, things like that, which is fine because we're here to hang out with the guys and things like that. Or we did get some good pieces here. We can go out there and try and win some games. Like, what do you guys want to do? We've had that conversation, and I know, Chris, you're probably going to speak to it, but, like, how has that gone into, like, you making lineups and things like that?
To Pat's point, we had conversations with our core group of guys about how we want to approach the season, because the last couple of seasons it's actually been pretty easy to balance playing time with putting a competitive team on the field, because we've only had 10, 11, 12 guys showing up every game. You can get everybody in there. It's not like we've got to sit 4 or 5 guys every game. We were having BP sessions every Tuesday night prior to everything shutting down, and sometime around mid-February or so, I texted our core group of guys that shows up every week, which are the guys that have been around this will be our 4th season since the beginning. I said, hey guys, after we hit tonight, why don't we stick around, grab a drink, which we usually did anyways, but I said, why don't we stick around, grab a drink, grab some dinner, let's talk about how we want to approach the season. So we went to a restaurant after we hit, we sat down, I said, listen, we're currently I think we were at a 16-man roster at the time. I said, we've got a pretty good group. If we keep adding guys, it's going to start cutting into playing time for people, especially because I'm not adding guys right now to be depth pieces. If we add people now, it's to add talent and try to win ball games. So do we want to do that? Do we want to add, 2 or 3 more arms if we can? Do we want to add 2 or 3 more bats to the lineup if we can, at the expense of playing time, maybe the guys that have been around for a while? and I wanted to gauge their opinion on it because I want to go into the season kind of as a cohesive unit and keeping those guys in mind, because a lot of our core group of guys, if you disclude Earhart because he's a pitcher and didn't show up to that.
Wasn't he there?
I don't think he was.
I thought he was.
No. But we had only one guy that we've known less than maybe 10 years. So our core group of guys have known each other since we were 17, 18 years old. Some of us even earlier than that. So that's the group of guys that I wanted to get together and say, hey, how do we want to approach this? Because maybe we have somebody that's been on the team and is used to getting, 22 starts or 20 starts or whatever it is, and 60 to 70 plate appearances. And hey, maybe that gets reduced into the 50s this year because we got somebody else now that can play in 15 or 16 games and give us some good at bats. So and I mean, we all agree. Everybody seemed to agree that if we can add talent and win ball games, then let's do it. Because to Pat's point, we're going there to have fun, hang out with our buddies. But at some point, if we're going to keep doing this and running a team, the competitive nature takes over. We want to win. I mean,
yeah.
And we're in a tough division, as you are too, Dave, probably with these new teams. But we've got the Cubs, who won the championship last year. We've got the Royals, who have made 2 championship appearances. We've got the Mariners, who have won a championship. We've got the Black Sox, who
are in the league,
who play hard. But we've got a tough division. So if we're going to compete, we got to throw our best bats out there. We got to throw our best arms out there and get our other guys playing time when we can.
What's going to happen though is that we're going to be saying this stuff about the Black Sox, and then they're going to come out and beat us, and we're going to be like,
yeah, probably.
Well, you never know. You just never know.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have some pitching that if they get the lineup the right way that they want it, they could be formidable. But
yeah,
I think they run into the same issues that we have. But I know for the conversations that we had, Chris, at Jake and Joe's there, was kind of the way we thought it was going to roll.
Yep.
But, I mean, there were definitely some thoughts brought up that from some guys that we've known for a while that were kind of surprising. And I know I've floated the idea to you before of like, well, if a guy that's been there for a while isn't going to play one week, maybe you can give him like a text and just let him know. But then now you're sending 16 text messages out of who's going to play where, and then maybe that guy doesn't show up and we need him later in the game. What do you do? So, Dave, did you ever do that, like with those guys, like where you're like, hey, you might not play this, we might need you later?
I tried to put I used GroupMe, which was people responded to like the game, and what I would do is whoever responded by like Wednesday, I'd put a lineup out on like Thursday. So if people didn't see their name in the lineup and they didn't show up, that basically I established a kind of a culture that they were a shitty person, But on a serious note, I never really had those conversations with those people. I played everyone, I thought, equally. If you kind of look at our stats from last year, a little bit at the Rough Riders. I mean, we hit like 337 as a team, and a guy that played in 11 games, like Mike Healy, who's a good friend, had 22 at-bats, and Doobie had 37 at-bats. He was at 17 games, some of our impact players that didn't make it to most of the games, kind of hurt us, I mean, it sucked at the end having to play those guys that only showed up to emotionally sucked at the end. I'd be like, hey, sorry. Hey, man, this guy Freddie Carrera is a great player. I'm not going to put him on the bench. So and Tom Troll too, like, sorry, I mean, I wish I could have changed some of the messaging I gave out maybe at the beginning of the year, but things change throughout the year, like you see the team kind of coming together, you see where you're not getting on base at the back a little bit, and if you look like Panzini, like I DH for Panzini the whole season. And he could have been hitting when he was pitching. He's a great hitter. Mm-hmm. He could have been hitting when he was pitching.
Just get another guy in there, though.
Just to get another guy in. I DH for everyone that pitched, just to get another guy in, and then had an EH. I toyed with the idea of going to 9 guys a lot, just to kind of roll the lineup over a little bit differently. But I think, one of the guys that I'm happy that came over with us was Garrett Doobie, because, obviously I love Baca, and having Doobie come over, he's a good friend, and kind of trusts the process. He works really hard, and can throw a little bit too. He's got a devastating changeup.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking at your stats from last year and everything, Dave. I mean, it looks like you did a pretty good job. Obviously, there are some outlying numbers here where like Mike Gallo kind of hit 500, but I'm assuming he's a pitcher. He got 3 games.
So he got injured. He got injured and then couldn't show up really anymore.
Yeah,
he was a pitcher in the national system for a little while, right?
Yeah, he lives up the street from me.
But I mean,
so, he plays pro softball.
He plays pro softball now?
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Pat, he the first year that we played with Dave in the Classic, he pitched for us one of the games. I think the second game, the big fella.
Yeah.
Threw smoke.
Yeah, he throws hard.
Good thing I didn't catch him because a lot of them were going to the backstop. But we can talk about that when the Classic comes up again.
I mean, a tough person that we're losing in the CABL is Ryan Foley. So he's not coming back to the CABL. He's going to one team, and he's just staying in the Mabel. He's just got a lot going on with work and stuff. So you might see him again in the future, but it's just that was tough because he's one of my best pals. So and having to have that conversation with him.
I mean,
he walked 20 times.
Not 22
though. Because you know who walked 22 times in a season? Yeah, boy. But I mean, just looking at these stats here, I mean, it looks like you got most of these guys a lot of games. Like I said, there are some outliers like Mike Gallo and Ben Heller here, even John Etner, but he's a pitcher. I know that. Their at-bats, they're pretty similar. I mean, Mancini looks like he got a little bit less, but I don't know what happened there.
Heller is actually a fill-in one game that we played you guys. So he came down from Portsmouth.
Oh, really?
To play in Plymouth. He was one of Mike's friends.
You're telling me that the people in the Central don't want to come to Plymouth to play baseball, but some guy from Portsmouth will drive down and be like, yeah, I'm going to play baseball?
We're coming – the North is coming down this year.
Correct.
You.
We'll see how the Giants show up in Plymouth. They didn't want to come to Duxbury a few years ago, and it's 3 more exits, so we'll see.
25 guys, man.
Would you – now, Dave – would you say that we have the biggest home field advantage in all the CABL?
Yeah, you have a ton of fans.
Well, no
just nobody wants to come to Plymouth.
We have 0 fans. Well, no, we have 2 fans, and they both chase foul balls.
Correct.
But,
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's the best.
No, but I mean, like, does that really – I know Terrio said it before. He's like, I don't go south. But, like, do guys on your team before, like, say, like, I don't want to go to Plymouth? Is that – or do they just not tell you and just not show up? Or what?
If you no call, no show, then you're never playing again for me. That's kind of like I was like, or you're gonna. It was like that really hurts. For that to happen.
Yep.
I understand if people have things going on, but it's a 10 a.m. game in Plymouth, dude. Just wake up an extra hour early and get in your car at 8 o'clock, and you'll be down there by 9. And it's 8:45, and you're fine. It's not
super easy ride to Plymouth too.
It's not hard.
You're trying to push it, are you?
Huh?
No, it's just frustrating, dude. It's just frustrating to hear that people don't want to travel.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, man. I mean, if you could feel the team, great. That's all we're looking for. But having a solid bench, you lose games that way when you don't travel right. When you don't travel correctly, you can lose games
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So our first year in the league, Dave, we had a 10 a.m. game in Pepperell against the Red Dogs when they were still around, and we had 9 guys show up. We had a no-call, no-show. Me and Pat were on vacation up in Maine. I came to the game. Pat didn't. But I showed up because we needed 9 guys. But you're right. It's tough. We had to have Earhart in the lineup that game. We had guys playing out of position. We had one guy that pulled his hamstring during the game and couldn't run. He's one of our faster guys. Probably should have scored on a base hit to tie the game late in the game. But you're right.
First game of the finals, we lost 4-3 and had 10 guys. And our pitcher pitched. We had no bench.
Yeah.
And I had to put our number 4 hitter in the 10th spot because he was running late from work. Okay. And we tied the game in the 5th. Game 2, On Sunday morning, it was a noon start time. We lost 3-1. Once again, had 11 guys. We were able to DH.
Yeah.
Somewhere. Game 3, we were back home. We were back up near us. We were at Morelli, and we won 8-4, and we had 15 guys there. So it just, we had our lineup, and it just tells you a little bit about just what happens. It is what it is. If you don't travel right, you don't have your right team. You build the team in January, whenever, to compete in October. And if that team's not there to compete in October, then what's the point of even building the team?
Yep. You're right. You're absolutely right.
So,
I think we can go on for hours just talking about this, but we might probably need to cut it here. So,
that's good.
Just to recap, we had the Senators, Giants, and Marlins preview. We're going to have more of an update on the season next episode just because of the managers meeting on Tuesday. That was kind of sprung up. But Dave, I think – Chris, you had a question for Dave, right?
You want a trivia question?
Yeah, we're going to do a trivia question for everyone that comes on, every guest. Make sure you get it right, Dave, or else you're not invited back.
What if I'm not right?
I think you should be. We'll start you off with a softball. So, 2004 ALCS Game 4. Who drew the walk that led to Dave Roberts' stolen base in the ninth?
Dude, I don't know.
I don't hold on. Bill Miller. No, Bill Miller got the hit.
Bill Miller got the hit.
Oh, it was Alex Cora.
Kevin Millar.
No?
Dude.
Kevin Millar.
Hold up. Because we said –
come on, that was a good one.
Softball.
That's a hard one.
You got this walk in 2004.
Come on, that's a good one. That's a good question, though.
Give me another one, dude. I wasn't up that late. Give me one more. Who won the 1999 Home Run Derby? Who won the 1999 Home Run Derby at Fenway?
Ken Griffey Jr.
Attaboy.
I was in the stands that night.
I guess.
Dude, that's a cupcake. A lot of people say McGuire, though, because he deposited a lot
he hit 26 home runs in the first round.
On the pike. Damn, dude. So
I was there that night. I remember. I was like 7 years old.
So we're gonna need to rehash this whole trivia question thing. But
I didn't think that was that bad. My apologies.
I was an Oakland A's fan.
Who was your favorite player?
I'm an Oakland A's fan.
You were an A's fan?
Yeah, man.
You just thought that
2004
was
Oakland A's. Player. I can tell you who hit the home run off Barry Zito in 2003 when the Red Sox beat them in Game 5 in Oakland. It was Manny hit a moonshot.
Well, Dave, it was a pleasure having you.
Thanks, guys.
We're going to have you back. And whenever you're around and you want to do it and you have a better internet connection, feel free to.
I have a good – this has been good.
You've been cutting in and out, man.
You've cut out a little bit, but it's for the most part, it's been pretty good.
But, Dave, we appreciate you having you, giving us your insight on the Giants and the Marlins as well as just the league in general. So whenever you're free and you want to jump on here, please feel free to do so.
Sure.
We'll be doing this next week, hopefully around the same time. We'll be doing 3 new teams. We haven't really decided who they're going to be yet, so we won't keep you too much longer here. But last thing, anything we got, Poppy?
He's good.
He has no questions. All right, sweet. So, Dave, thanks again. Chris, we'll see you next time, and thanks for stopping by, everyone. Later.
Stay safe.
All right, bye.